Find yourself a comfortable seat. Sit back, relax, take a deep breath, and let's just show up and learn with each other and evolve with each other and unlearn with each other. I realized that I wore my unlearn shirt for this evolution video and I wore my evolve shirt for the unlearning examination video. It is what it is. But nonetheless, it's all important. It all goes together. It's all a symphony of tools to help us get where we want to be. And today I'm diving into the third step in the cognitive behavioral therapy process, which I made a much more in detailed video that you can check out up here or in the description below. And I've dived into the first step, which was all around changing our physiological state through deep belly breathing and visualization. And I also made another video to dive into the second step of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is examination and observation. Seeing the patterns, observing the feeling states, the emotions that are coming up for us when we are being triggered, whether by our thoughts, irrational, obsessive compulsive thoughts, or maybe a conversation that we had, or maybe something that we witnessed in a television show or on the news, right? These triggers, right? They sometimes make us react. Like when a cat sees a squirrel, it just immediately wants to go after it. But instead, we could take a breath and we could observe how our body wants to react and instead choose how we want to respond. And today is the third step. So after the breathing, after the examination, now we are becoming the creators of our reality. So instead of reacting, the creators. In an examination, we're recognizing an old conditioned reaction that we have playing out, and instead of identifying with that and getting caught up in that reaction, we are now choosing how we want to respond. And so in that video where I talked about examination, and I'll include that one up here too or down below, I talked about my own foundational fear and how that presented itself in reality. So my foundational fear was the fear of not measuring up, which equated to a lower self-esteem and a low self-trust, which then was presenting itself in reality as taking things extremely personal, and then on an even deeper level, an intense irrational fear of suicide. Okay, and that played out mostly, this fear of irrational suicide played out in 2018, which ended up bringing me to cognitive behavioral therapy and therapy in general. And so when I am recognizing these things, when I am going through the process of cognitive behavioral therapy to recognize those patterns, instead of falling into the reaction of taking something personally, at the end, in this third step, I am choosing how I want to respond. So the immediate reaction, taking it personally. The chosen response is to recognize, this isn't personal. Rather, this person just happened to be bringing up a story that they wanted to share with me. And instead of getting personal about it, I'm just recognizing it as a story. I'm seeing the space between myself and it, right? And not only that, but also I can, now that I have this space to see, I can also see that if this person is kind of like making comments at me, I can recognize that they are maybe projecting their own fears as well, their own uncomfortability in their skin, whatever their negative feedback loop is or their conditioned reactions are. I can understand, they might be saying this out of their own pain, and I could recognize it as that instead of taking it personally and reacting. And that right there is an extreme benefit, because instead of getting in a fighting match with that person that we were triggered by and taking something personally from, now we have space to recognize, they must be in pain. Let me have a conversation with them. Let me try and work to the bottom of this and create a better relationship with that person. And now that we've worked through this problem with each other, now the relationship is even stronger because we worked through conflict together. We worked through adversity together. And this is deeply, deeply beneficial to all parts of your life. Like I said, one of my other fears that was presenting itself in a different but similar way was my irrational fear of suicide, of committing suicide, right? I had this foundational fear of not being enough, which correlated to not trusting myself, not trusting that I could show up for myself. And that showed itself as, oh my gosh, I'm afraid my anxiety is going to get so bad that I'm not going to be able to recover from it. Anxiety from my anxiety. And this showed up as the fear of committing suicide. And so when I started to understand that reaction, that conditioned reaction, and that root fear of I'm afraid of not measuring up, of not being enough, I recognized, this is just a conditioned reaction. Again, I'll include that video too about conditioning, how I say anxiety is not your fault. A lot of our reactions and the way that we show up in the world is learned. And so this same foundational fear was showing up in a lack of self-trust. And so I said to myself in that moment that, okay, I can trust myself. I've shown up for myself in many other circumstances where I was able to get through anxiety. This fear was showing up in 2018 after I had already gotten through intense anxiety in 2014, right? Sometimes when we get caught in these negative feedback loops, we can just lose all sight of anything else around us. And with that, we can lose the sight of other accomplishments that we have, or the confidence that really is deep there within us, right? That's why breathing is important, because it puts space between us and whatever reaction that we are having. And so that we get to see, oh, actually, I do have a lot of self-trust. This is an irrational fear, right? This isn't based in truth. This is where we become the creators of our reality moving forward. And this is extremely beneficial. And not only do I include how I'm going to change from taking something personally to taking it not personally, or changing my lack of self-trust into deep self-trust, but I'm also in this third step including gratitude for myself, right? Because this is not an easy tool to do. We're in the midst of a reaction, of a stress response, of a trauma response. So the fact that I have taken a moment to myself to do this cognitive behavioral therapy, this work, I am sharing gratitude with myself, right? In this third step, I'm saying thank you for showing up. Thank you for providing some support for myself, for just showing up for myself, even when it's difficult, right? This is where the self-trust expands and gets bigger and grows and grows and grows. And because of that, this is where the self-esteem grows and grows and grows, and the self-confidence grows and grows and grows, okay? And the more that we do this whole cognitive behavioral therapy tool, in any moment that it presents itself as an opportunity to grow, anytime that we do this, we are building the momentum. Again, growth takes time. 2 millimeters of growth every time that we do cognitive behavioral therapy. It might not feel monumental, but it's small growth over time that gets us from A to B. And that is extremely big. So again, if you think that you could benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy, then I highly recommend that you get a therapist or a coach who can teach you and help you acquire this skill, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy is not something that I learned on my own. Rather, I had a therapist who decided that this would be a tool that would really benefit me, and she helped me acquire it and gave me the support while I was practicing how to do it. Because it takes time to really acquire the skill and make it strong. So instead of having this flimsy hammer that breaks when you hit a nail, instead you have this really strong steel hammer that does not break on impact when you're using it. And that's what you want cognitive behavioral therapy to be. And that is how a therapist or a coach could really help you develop, because they're giving you that support, they're giving you their wisdom, their insight, and all of their education so that you can grow. And again, I have a link down below on an article that helped me find a therapist that worked for me instead of just any old therapists. I've been through an assortment of therapists, some that were terrible for me and others that really, really, really helped me. And as always, if this was helpful for you, then I would love to hear from you in the comments, questions or maybe experiences that you have had in cognitive behavioral therapy. And if you think that somebody you know can benefit from this, please, 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 please share it with them. That's how we grow and evolve together. That's what we're here for, right? If you need more resources or you're interested in books on cognitive behavioral therapy, I will include one below. It's called Self-Esteem, and is actually recommended to me from my therapist. And you could also go to my website where I have an assortment of books up now that you could purchase, or movies and documentaries that you could watch, and podcasts that you could listen to that have impacted me in a profound way. So I look forward to seeing you in the comments, or on my Instagram, or on Facebook, or just at the next video. I get so excited sometimes. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Much love. Let's grow and evolve, baby. Let's do it.